subtopic number 4, which is on Huygens principle. So in this subtopic, you have to be able to state the Huygens principle, mainly focusing on the spherical and plane wavefronts, sketch and explain the wavefront of light after passing through a single slit and obstacle using the Huygens principle. So what is a wavefront? Wavefront is a line ataupun surface, a line or surface which joins all the adjacent points which have the same phase in a wave. So it is always perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation. So we have two types of wavefront. We have the plane wavefront ataupun the circular wavefront. So wavefront ni they are perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation. So if it's going to the right, this is the perpendicular. This is perpendicular. Okay, so that is the wavefront. Okay, so Huygens principle. Oh, I forgot to add S there. I'm gonna update that later. So Huygens principle is basically a geometrical construction governing the propagation of wavefronts lah. So it is telling us that each point on the wavefront here act as a secondary point source which emits spherical wavelets. Okay, so after time t, the new position of the wavefront will be the surface that is tangential to all these secondary wavelets. So step ni ada point, and after that they akan create another spherical wavelets. Macam tu lah. Okay, untuk circular wave pula, same thing juga. This point ni act as a secondary point source. So this is the source for these secondary wavelets. Okay, so yeah, that is what I'm talking about just now. Just basically read it through lah. Okay, so what is the limits of ray optics? Okay, so geometric optics predicts that this setup here will produce a single bright that has the same size as the slit. But that is not what happened. In reality, we will see a diffraction pattern, which we call a set of interference fringe. Okay, so this is what happened. So based on the Huygens principle, it can be used to explain the diffraction of wave. So each of the point in the figure shown here act as a secondary source of wavelets. So each of these point ni dia jadi source untuk create this wavelets. Okay, the tangent to the wavelets from point 2, 3, 4 and 5 is a plane wavefront lah. Tapi at the edges, dia start dari 1 dengan 6 ni, dia start jadi spherical wavelets. So it goes around the edge of the slit that it would not reach lah. Sebab di sini dia ada obstacle kan, so dia jadi spherical. So Huygens principle suggests that in conforming to this curve going around these slits, the new wavefront actually bends ataupun diffract around the edges. Okay, so every time ada obstacle, the wave instead of dia jadi straight macam ni, dia akan bend just so that it reach the edges of the obstacle. Okay, so Huygens principle is consistent with diffraction. So kalau every time dia jadi plane wavefront di sini dia akan jadi spherical wavelets, just because there is a presence of obstacle di situ. Okay, the smaller the size of the gap, the diffraction of the wave is much more obvious because the slit is much more smaller lah, sebab dia akan jadi approximately the same size as the wavelength of the wave. Okay. So the characteristics, before and after diffraction, the wavelength is constant. It will not change before and after diffraction. The frequency and the speed will also be unchanged. So these three will be constant before and after diffraction. The direction of motion, however, changes as the wave spread out after diffraction. Okay, so macam ni sekarang ni dia punya direction tadi lurus macam ni, tapi sekarang dia ke dalam macam ni. Okay, so the shape of the wave also change. It will spread out more when passing small obstacle. Macam ni, dia jadi lurus ni, dia jadi more circular. Okay, so it will spread less when passing larger obstacle as shown here lah. So a much more larger gap would produce smaller diffraction lah. Kalau smaller gap would produce a much more larger diffraction. Okay, that's it. Next, that is basically the theory part for the Huygens principle. So hopefully this one would not come out in exam, but based on what I know, your exam will only focus on calculation, and this part here do not have any calculation, but this, however, would come out in your UPS question. Should be. Okay, so that is all for subtopic number 4.